During the Second World War, soldiers fought in places where rain was not just a nuisance, but a lethal enemy. Normandy's soaked hedgerows, the monsoon-soaked jungles of Burma, and the icy, mud-choked forests of the Ardennes all showed the limits of standard military gear. Canvas would sag, rot, and leak. Leather hardened into boards. Early rubberized materials cracked in cold and peeled under tropical heat. And yet, tucked quietly into the field manuals of certain units and engineering detachments, there existed, a simple rainproofing method that outperformed every factory-issued tarp and poncho. It shed water endlessly, resisted mildew, stayed flexible in freezing conditions, and survived months of hard use. The mystery isn't that it worked. Soldiers swore by it. The mystery is that even with today's materials science, engineers still struggle to fully understand why this particular blend bonded so effectively with natural fibres. The forgotten wartime treatment that turned ordinary cloth into a weatherproof shield. The rainproofing technique began as an improvisation. Logisticians noticed that shipping crates and tool rolls treated with certain plant-based oils lasted far longer than untreated canvas. Field engineers refined the idea until they settled on a mixture that, fused into the cloth instead of just sitting on the surface. What made it extraordinary was the way it permanently altered the fibre structure, creating a flexible, water-shedding material that behaved more like cured hide than woven cotton. It wasn't rubberized fabric. It wasn't waxed canvas in the common sense. It was an infusion method that left the cloth with a matte, slightly tacky texture that resisted rain, sleet, and even brief contact with snow melt. Some labs revisited the formula after the war and found something they couldn't quite explain. The fibres didn't just absorb the mixture, they changed. They tightened, stiffened, and became less permeable in a way that didn't fully match the ingredients. This is one of the reasons the method is discussed quietly among restoration experts and reenactors today. It works too well to dismiss, and it performs beyond what the raw materials should theoretically deliver. The process itself was astonishingly simple, but required discipline. The original World War II technique relied on a combination of boiled linseed oil, tung oil beeswax, and a small amount of pine resin. The cloth was warmed, not boiled, so the fibres opened just enough to absorb the mixture. The solution was heated separately until the oils blended and the wax softened. Then the cloth was worked by hand, pressed, massaged, and repeatedly folded while still warm. The goal wasn't to coat the cloth like a paint. It was to push the mixture deep into the weave. Once treated, the fabric was hung in a warm, ventilated area for several days. Over that time, the finish cured into what soldiers described as water sliding off like glass. The secret may lie in how tung oil polymerizes when mixed with even small amounts of wax and rosin. The curing process seems to create a semi-rigid matrix inside the fibres that reinforces the cloth, while giving it a repellent surface. Yet even with modern analysis tools, reproducing that exact fibre transformation in a lab setting remains inconsistent. The wartime method, however, produces the result reliably. The modern survivalist can still use this technique with very real practical advantages. Today, synthetics dominate the outdoor world, but they come with familiar weaknesses. They tear suddenly. They melt from ember pops. They grow brittle under ultraviolet exposure. The World War II rainproofing method applied to heavy canvas behaves differently. A treated shelter sheet can withstand dragging across bark, being used as a stretcher, or enduring constant wet-dry cycles without structural failure. For long-term bushcraft, this reliability is worth more than the weight savings of thin nylon. To apply it yourself, start with good cotton canvas. Heat it gently near a fire or in the sun. In a separate pot, melt equal parts beeswax and boiled linseed oil, adding just a small amount of tung oil for enhanced curing strength. Stir until fully blended. Brush the mixture onto the warm cloth, then fold and press it repeatedly so the fibres absorb the mixture instead of letting it, clump on the surface. Once saturated, hang the cloth for several days in a warm, ventilated place. After curing, test it by pouring water across the surface. You'll watch the liquid sheet off in a way synthetic coatings rarely replicate. This treatment is excellent for shelter tarps, ponchos, pack covers, tool rolls, and even ground cloths. A survivalist can create a poncho that doubles as a lean-to, a pack cover that won't tear under thorns, or a bedroll sheet that resists ground moisture for years. Homesteaders often use this method to protect wood stacks, cover equipment, or make long-lasting barn aprons for rain season. The advantage is not just waterproofing, it's durability and maintainability. When the fabric eventually shows wear, you simply warm a small amount of the mixture and rub it back into the fibres. The longevity and mystery are why historians still study this field method. What makes this technique so compelling to historians and engineers isn't only the performance. It's the fact that soldiers recorded multi-year durability in all climates with no measurable fibre rot. Even modern waterproof canvas struggles to achieve this without complex treatments. Something about the combination of plant oils, waxes and resin produced a stable, breathable, rot-resistant fabric that outlasted many early synthetics. Collectors and restoration specialists regularly encounter World War II bags, tarps and ponchos that still shed water today, 8 decades after the war. That alone places this method in a class of its own. If you value fieldcraft that endures history, that teaches through practicality and gear, that earns trust through decades instead of months, then this forgotten World War II rainproofing formula belongs in your knowledge toolkit. For more rare field methods, forgotten wartime technologies, and deep research breakdowns, make sure to subscribe, share this video with fellow history buffs, and help keep these timeless skills alive.